Hi, I'm Chrissy.
And I'm Jess, and this is Financial Progress.
Before we begin, I just want to give a little disclaimer that this is just a conversation between friends. This is not financial advice. Please seek the help of a financial professional before making any financial decisions.
Thank you. We have a special guest today. We have Anthony from About the Wallet podcast. Anthony inspires the sandwich generation to achieve financial freedom. Welcome, Anthony.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for the invite, Jess and Chrissy.
Yeah. So before we get into our details of the sandwich generation, we want to ask you first, can you tell us about your financial progress over the years?
Yeah, so over the years, one of the things that I really do enjoy is understanding how money has shown up in my life in various ways, either teaching me lessons of delayed gratification, what it's like to rush into things without thinking, and also realizing that money likes to make friends. And what I mean by that is from investing, learn how to create it, seed money. And I've learned so many different things throughout the years through various people that have shown up in my life. And they might not be in my life now, but they have taught me along the way. And so over the years, how far back you trying to go?
However you like.
Yeah,
Okay.
wherever you
Wherever
want to
your
start.
story starts.
Okay.
Maybe the turning point.
Yeah, so I'll start at the major turning point for me was getting out of a long-term relationship. I'll say like 6 years. And one of the things that I had to realize is my take inside the relationship and the reason why I was in the financial constraints that I was in at that time frame. So moving out, I had to close out a lot of credit cards because I allowed them to be an authorized user, and they racked it up. And I had to pretty much close out that card so they don't continue to rack it up when I'm no longer there. And doing so, I had to close out all the other cards as well because I just didn't make that much. I was in a 1 bedroom apartment, no furniture. I think I had like maybe a folding chair. And when I even had like a housewarming, it was kind of like bring your own chair. It wasn't even bring your own booze. So I was like, I ain't got it. I probably had like a folding table that somebody had gifted me some time ago. And that was it. And having that experience really told me that I was happier on my own being broke than I have in a long time. And it was really just finding myself again and doing that journey of being down and realizing that my friends and family are still there for me to help me understand that it is okay to reach out to say, hey, I just don't have it. And realizing that when you are one being transparent and vulnerable, that people will respect your boundaries a lot more and even offer up to kind of, hey, pay your way to some things if they really want you to be there. And I had to thank them a lot throughout this process and just kind of say, you know what, I love you. I greatly appreciate everything that you did. If you guys actually listen to the show. And so that kind of helped drive where I am today, which is now money's my friend. Money, back up to multiple credit cards again, enjoying that 720 lifestyle with the credit card. And I mean, on the way to 800, but obviously history came into play because I had to close out cards and so many different things and student loans. Well, we won't get into student loans.
Yes, let's not get into student loans.
No.
That'll be a whole episode.
Yes. But going through that process, I mean, it has taught me so much. And one of the things that I really do want to share is some of those key things that helped me get out of the rut when I was in doing this episode.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know there's been a lot of people who supported my financial journey when I was trying to focus on getting out of debt and understood when I had to say no to certain things. So I'm grateful for those people in my life.
You had like
Yeah.
some that really didn't understand as well, right?
Mhm.
They're just like, but what do you mean? Life is too short. You need to do this. I'm like, but we have goals and we're trying to achieve them and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
But it's always nice to have those accountability people in your life as well to help you get through.
Yeah. You really don't realize on how, I guess you could say, resilient you are
Mhm.
until you actually when nobody's there to help you. And one of the things that I had to learn is stop asking a lot and
Mhm.
just kind of dig deep down into like, I don't need you to help me financially. Help me build a system that I can sustain with the finances that I currently have.
Mhm.
And having that understanding of building a system is that so I can know where to put my money at, where do I really want to go in life, and how can I enjoy myself today
Mhm.
when nothing is really working. So I actually bought a bike because I was like, hey, I'm only 3 miles away from work. Let me just bike to work. It sounds such a great thing. Save money. Not realizing that there are hills along the way.
Oof.
And the bike was about $600. And that included the warranty. But I was able to get a deal because like I knew people and I was, like I said, I was just being very vulnerable. Like, hey, I just moved. I don't have much. I would like to get into biking. I get into shape. And so somebody was like, oh yeah, I know somebody that works at a bike shop. Cool. Bada boom, bada bing, got a bike. And I was like, now I need to get a helmet and all this stuff costs. I didn't realize like biking costs, not just a bike. I was maybe thinking like a Huffy was like maybe $100, something like that for a bike. No, they came up $500. So because it's a new model coming out and we got to get rid of the old inventory. I was like, I didn't know that they are sold bikes like cars. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But
It's like
yeah,
the new 2024 Huffy.
Limited edition.
right.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that either. That bikes are sold that way. The only type of bike I would hop on is probably an electric bike, but yeah. To get to work, I would say.
Right.
But yeah, that's a lot. 3 miles doesn't sound like a lot, like you said, until you hit those hills and you're like, wow, this is awful.
Yeah.
Hit a roller coaster going to work.
Right. Lightning step.
Yeah. So yeah. So for those who may not be familiar with the term, can you explain the sandwich generation, what that is, and why they face unique financial challenges?
Yes. So the sandwich generation are people who have kids and they also caretakers for their parents. And
Mm.
having that understanding, like they already financially strapped because everybody has a handout from down below and above. And it's just a lot on them. And sometimes they just need a way to get out. And that's the reason why I focus on them because I'm slowly getting into that realm now to start thinking about how I'm going to care for my mom as she gets older and what is it that she currently likes and enjoys so that I can either A, continue to provide that for her, or does she need to modify her lifestyle if I'm going to be the caretaker, be like, you ain't going to be going to these places anymore. But also I have to look into myself of, am I still living my life now so that I can actually prepare myself for when she gets older? So this is pretty much the reason why I like podcasting is because it's almost like a cheat code or a cheat window into getting free information. So one of the ways is like learning about different caretaker, I guess you could say, strategy as far as making sure that they have life insurance. Where is it stored? Are they invested in high yield savings accounts? Make sure that the IRAs, the self-directed IRAs are set up because, she transferred from different jobs and probably still have retirement accounts in those other areas. Let's put them into a self-directed IRA so that she can still focus on ETFs and stuff like that to let it grow. Do we get a trust involved? Has the will been taken care of? These are the things that are necessary for the estate planning side of the house. And as a person that's in the sandwich generation, yes, this is the focus and where it needs to be. Now, do you actually have to set it up immediately? Probably not. But these conversations need to be had now so that when something happens, you have all of that information. Like passwords are very important. They don't have to give you the password. They just got to tell you what book it's in so that you can have access to that. There's also something called for the banks. If you guys, if you're listening to this right now, you'd be like, well, what is the first thing I can do to kind of help in case something happens where my parent passes away? The easiest thing that you can do is tell your parent, hey, can you set up a TOD or called a POD? TOD is a transfer on death. POD is to pay on death. And you can actually go to your bank and they'll just ask you for the social security number and the name of the person that you want to transfer the money to or pay out to. It takes literally a few seconds, a few minutes even. Just fill out a little paperwork. It's one pager, nice and easy. And the cool thing about it is that it doesn't have to worry about the will. Nobody needs to know about it. All you have to do is just show them a death certificate and they'll just transfer the money. Nice and easy and easy peasy. Or
That's good to
as
know.
they say, as easy as 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah,
So you
that's
asked the
really
bank,
good
you
to
said?
know.
You said you asked the bank for that
Yeah,
paper?
so when you go to the bank, you just tell them, hey, I want to set up a TOD or a POD. They'll know what you're talking about. And they'll
Okay.
just say like, hey, just fill out this form and do it. I've done it. And it was really easy. You just go into the bank saying like, hey, here you go. And then it was like, all right, that's it. And the cool thing is if they actually they bank in the same bank that you do, it would just be a transfer on death. So they just kind of throw the money into your account and they can keep that account open for a little bit just to kind of watch any transactions and then they'll close it out. So it's all in one swoop. So it's also an option too. Just ask them like, hey, what banks do you bank with? So that you can either create an account, just throw in like $500 or something, $20 to start, a savings account or a checking account. And it's so easy.
I am going to do that.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the sandwich generation, you gotta just think about it all. We can go into, I'm not sure how far y'all want to go into different strategies here. From like life insurance, making sure that you have those set up. Depending on, again, we're just having conversation here. Who gets the money on the life insurance? Do you actually set up a trust for it? And when you go to inherit housing, where does that go? A lot of times they say not to give it to the children directly because now they got to pay the taxes on it, and to not avoid paying the taxes, but also just kind of have the taxes go to a different entity. Is that you can actually have the trust as not a beneficiary on your title, but you can have them as a sub owner of the title, because when you do your homeowner's insurance and stuff like that, you can still do that and pay for that. Because if you put your trust as the main owner or the deed holder of that particular property, then when you go to get like homeowners insurance, it's going to be a problem. So that's one of the things that you want to kind of be mindful of as well.
I'm loving these cheat codes, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's things that I come across along the way, just learning from other people. And again, these are things that I wish I would have known sooner. I'm now like I had to say this, but I'm in my 40s, and it's just the aches and pains.
Yeah,
it's real.
Well,
that's okay. We are too.
I'm 40, so just hit that mark. Yeah, so I this is stuff I wish I would have learned in my 20s. To be honest, we didn't start until our 30s, so it was a little late start, but we're still grateful we came across and started changing our financial situations along the way, making financial progress.
And I have to say, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's almost hindsight. It's like I kind of wish my parents would have taught me more about money, even if they didn't take action. And this goes back to that delayed gratification piece. Is that because I had this conversation, I would say almost 2 years ago now, and I asked my mom, why didn't she tell me about authorized users? Why didn't she put me down as one of her authorized user instead of me going out and getting my own credit card, my first one? And she was like, well, I didn't put you on because I was afraid that I was going to mess up your credit. And to me, I'm like, knowing what I know now, you could have just put me on and never given me the credit card, put the credit card to the side or something like that, just so I can have that history. Just go get another one. I know it's easy to say just go get another one, but if you're not comfortable even with credit cards, some people still today only have like maybe one or two credit cards. I have like 8. So it's like, why not? But that was another strategy that I learned from somebody else. And it was, I call him like my mentor, but he was also like in college, he was like my, as you could say, buddy. He was a cool guy. But he taught me was like, when time is good, go ahead on and just get as many credit cards as you can. Go on and just try to max out as much as you can. Because even though you don't need it now, when times get hard, you can still use it. And it doesn't count as income when you need to pull from those credit cards and so forth. And I was like, never thought about it that way. But also, he said, is that when you go to use money on these cards, your usage of these particular cards will not impact your credit score as much. So if you're sitting around with $100,000 in credit across all of your cards, because that's the way how it's set up to calculate your score, when you're only using one credit card that maybe have like 5,000 on it, and you use up maybe like 2,000 or something like that on it, it may look like you're over leveraged on that one card, but your overarching like available credit is not really impacted that much. So it kind of works on both ends. And if somebody only has one or two cards and it's maybe only like 20,000, then it's going to look like a big deal. So it's just kind of make sure that you're under, everybody keeps saying make sure you're under 30%, but it's better to make sure you're under 10% of usage of your total credit. So I got tons of things.
No,
to
I
say.
agree with that. So when I was in my debt time, I had 12 credit cards, but I was very
Nice.
irresponsible.
Oh.
So I kind of had at that time, so I kind of had like cut them all and I kind of like let them close. And then when I knew I was ready again, then I slowly started going back in and travel hacking, and that's how opening the cards. I think I'm probably back up to to the same amount, but it does show like, oh yeah, you have 100,000, but you're utilizing 2%, so it does look good. The only downside is I know someone who has a lot of credit available, but they're looking for a home. And they kind of told them, oh, well, you have too much credit available for the income that you make.
That's interesting.
So that's the only thing I heard recently. So that was kind of new to me. So I would like to look into that and see how does that actually work. Like if you don't make that much income, but I have all this credit, that means I can't go buy a home, or do I gotta close some cards out? Like I wonder what they would have to do to move forward.
I wonder if it could be the mixture of their credit too. Like, do they have car loans in their credit? Do they have any personal loans in their credit? Because sometimes they look into the mixture, not just how much they have available. So that's interesting. I would just say go to another lender. Like, just leave that lender.
Try some.
Somebody else got money.
It might be a good idea. Yeah. I think there's like a fine line, right? Because if people go get credit cards and they don't know how to manage their money properly, they can find themselves in trouble with overutilizing their credit availability. So I think that's something that you can develop, that skill and that capability to like use the card, pay it off, use the card, pay it off. But it's also a fine line when you're first learning how to manage your finances and manage your debt, not get into too much debt. It's something that you have to build up that skill. So just want to give that little disclaimer to the listeners, just because, I don't want someone to just go in to sign up for a lot of credit cards at once and think that that's okay. Like maybe start with one and learn how to manage that first. And then you can build up over time if you're able to stay within that utilization.
Yeah. And it's from experience too, right? So like I know what that's like to have so many credit cards and then maxing them all out and being in debt and having to pay it off. And it took me 3 years for me to like kind of like, okay, can I do this again? And I've been fine ever since. I mean, I have some hiccups here and there, right? But it's okay. We just, get through it. It's not as bad as it was before. And we know more now. So
I think growing up, I always was taught like credit cards are for emergencies. And never was taught really that you should have an emergency fund for emergencies. So I
Mhm.
ended up into debt for pleasure, but also for emergencies. Like I just kept stacking up the credit card debt for those purposes. And I didn't realize until I was actively paying off that debt that that's what I was doing. So it's so important to have that emergency savings as well before starting to strategically use these credit cards in ways that will benefit you.
Yeah. And when it comes to understanding like the credit card, so I use this analogy because I love it with most of my clients. It works. But use your credit card as the stove. When your parents start teaching you about the stove, they were like, hey, it's hot. Make sure you know, turn the burner on, turn it off when you're done. This is how you boil some water. Okay. Everybody can boil some water. You're not going to burn the house down if you're careful. But on that same sentence or instance of having the stove, if you're not using the stove properly, yes, you can burn down your household. Yes, it can
Mhm.
cause a lot of damage if you're not careful. So look at the credit card the same way. It can
Mhm.
either make your life amazing, all the perks and all the things that it can do when you treat it right. And it also can make your life miserable and horrible if you don't treat it the same way.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing with your food. If you're not careful and following directions and really understanding what you're getting into, yes. And we all know these stoves are not created equal because we all know that one burner that will burn a little faster than the rest of them.
Mhm.
Like, look, I put you at 6. It's supposed to stay at 6. I go to 8. Or we know the one that we put at 6 and is up here burning around like 3 or 4. It's like, come on. But we know which burner that is. And because of the trial and error, like you said, it started with 1. You learn how that one operates. Then you get to the 2, you get to the second one, because most burners got 4. We can say like, hey, this is our nice and cool burner. This is our one that we learned on, which we know that the 6 is really operating at like 8. So we know how this one runs hot. Cool. That credit card, we know how they operate. Now we go get the next credit card. We can say, okay, this one is going to be for, like you said, the emergencies or the groceries or whatever, your day-to-day life. You know the ins and outs of your day-to-day life. You pay that one off. Cool. All right. We know that one is nice and smooth and steady. Then we got the back burners, which is the slow ones. So you can think about those as taking care of your car insurance, which only comes out. I mean, I'm not sure. I pay my car insurance every 6 months. Some people do monthly,
Mm-hmm.
but you can put it on those slow burning, reoccurring things that you totally forgot about. But every time it hits, you get a notification and set those up. And so you can play around with it and you know what you can cook with each
Mm-hmm.
card and what you can get away with. But to say to also you want to protect yourself with that and what is something called a credit freeze. So you can go to all 3 bureaus, get the credit freeze. It does not freeze that you can't use the card. It just freezes from you opening up new ones. It's free now. When I first started, it was about $15 every time you went to go freeze it and unfreeze it. So it was expensive. So I was like, let me pay the $15 right now. I freeze all 3 of them. So it's about like $45 that I paid to freeze in all 3 bureaus. Just look up credit freeze, Experian freeze, TransUnion freeze, Equifax freeze. And you'll follow the links. Just fill out the information. It's not bad at all. And once you get it, set it up. Hey, you can freeze on a whim, and you can always unlock it when you go to apply for like a house, a car, and what you call it, the other different things. If you want to open up another credit card as well, and just call it a day. So it's a way to do it, but also you want to protect yourself. So
Yeah, it's a good way to protect yourself from identity theft or fraud, which is very common nowadays. We had an episode about that where people are just getting smarter and smarter, learning how to hack their way into your life and your
yeah,
finances. So that's a good concept right there. Another good cheat code.
yeah. I got plenty of these. What you call it? So, um, oh, when it comes to kids, though, I notice a lot of because we were talking about teaching your kids basically how to cook. I know they say let them cook, but let the parents cook when it comes to teaching their kids about finances. And usually you have to remember that most of the time we're only going to teach the things that we're comfortable with doing, not other things that we know. So when you think about your parent, it's like, hey, why do we live in this house? Why do we live in this area? Why do we live so close to grandma? Like, it's because that's the area that they grew up in. Are they afraid of going to another state? Or they only stayed here because they wanted you to go to school? They didn't want to lose your friends? So these are the things that I challenge everybody just to kind of have that quick open discussion. Why did we live here? Why did you choose this place? Why am I afraid of money? And I think that's one of the things that we all don't sit down and ask ourselves a lot is what are we afraid of? For me personally, I'm afraid of going backwards. I'm afraid of having
Mm.
those wish sandwiches where all we had was maybe syrup. And when I mean syrup, I mean king syrup. So y'all in your 40s, y'all understand. So remember the king syrup that was in that glass bottle that you had to put on the stove top to boil it just so it can be soft enough to pour out? That king syrup.
I don't
Oh wow, I've
remember
never,
that.
never had that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprisingly, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look it up later.
Okay, I will.
We came from North Philly. I don't know if they had that, but
Okay. Well, I was in Baltimore and it was like, king syrup was probably the cheapest one, I guess.
Okay.
But we had to put it in a pot with boiled water. You had to put it in there for at least, I'll say, 10 minutes, just to kind of get it, smooth. Because if not, it's rock hard. Like you can turn it upside down, it's not going anywhere.
oh wow.
Yeah, it's a mess. But having having that being said, you learn how the patients come in with that and trying to get your syrup, and then I know my mom tried her best, but she was also working like 3 jobs. And
Wow.
you got like 5 kids in the house. And then the stepfather, he was also working 2 jobs. So we were pretty much there to fend for ourselves. And having that understanding of, hey, we're here, we need to figure out something, how to eat, stuff like that. So we probably have like ketchup, maybe sometime mayonnaise. Mayonnaise was rare only because my mom actually likes mayonnaise on her hot dogs. And I was like, ew. So, but that was my mom doing her own thing. And I was like, she called herself making like French with like mayonnaise and ketchup, mixing it together. As I'm older now, I was like, okay, she's making a remoulade. And so I think I'm saying that right. And throwing like some relish and everything like that. They usually mostly for like fish and everything like that. So almost like a tartar sauce. But having that in the house and learning just how to make do with the little bit that you have is the best, I guess you could say, the best hack, mental hack, because when you hear people freaking out about, oh, I just lost my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I get fired, I don't have enough money to pay the bills today, I don't know what to do next. Those people usually freak out. Seeing a lot of people even commit suicide just because the potential of losing their job. And that's the sad side of it, of what are you really afraid of when it comes to finances? But also going back to understanding your finances and being comfortable, being open and vulnerable with your finances, as I call it, financially naked. You need to understand what those are. So to help people get through that, I call this like a term, I call it the bike method, which is you need to first put yourself on a budget, right? So B is for budget, I is for income, K is for knowledge, E is for execution. And what I do is take the B, first put yourself on a budget. You need to know where your money's going. You need to know where you want to put it based on the lifestyle that you have agreed to put on for your family. Everybody agree, because in the sandwich generation, everybody's in the house sometimes. So if you got your mom in the house and you got your kids running around, you need to sit down, everybody, let's talk about this. Where do we want to go as a family? Where do we want to go as a unit? This is how much money I'm making. And the kid, if they're an adult kid, they should be contributing to the household, to where they want to go. And also as the caretaker, if the parent is making like some type of income from Social Security, any assets from the stock market, they cashing in on dividends or any annuities or whatever. pull all that money together, create the budget. Where do y'all want to see yourselves as a unit? Create that budget. Next thing is income. The I is for income because either where you at right now doesn't mean that you're going to be there tomorrow. And what I mean is that the skills that got you there aren't the same skills that's going to take you to that next level. So are there things that you need to do to kind of increase your income? Either at work, do you need to start working more to learn more about the promotion process? How you get promoted to that next level? There's something called the employee assistance program. So if you just want to get better with your budgeting, just utilize what the company has already offered for you. Take on some certain certifications. The companies will actually pay for you to go back to school, get those certifications. Let's get that knocked out, which brings you into the knowledge piece. Because once you have the income, you use the knowledge to kind of help with all the income that you're getting now. Where are you going to put this stuff? How are you going to invest it? Are you going to use it for dividends? Are you creating annuities for your kids? Are you saving it up for the 529 plans for your kids in your state? Are you planning on starting a business? Something on the side just in case things don't work out the way you wanted to? Or even just want to do consulting, or you want to buy a laundromat? Who knows what you want to do with it? But now that you have that knowledge by listening to podcasts like this one, and now you're moving into the execution piece. This is where you start to put all the pieces that you've gained and putting it to use. Now that you have this understanding of where everything's supposed to be, you got the income, you got the budget, you have the knowledge. Executing should be a cinch. It shouldn't take you long because you already got everything aligned. You know where you want it to be. You have the skill sets to make it happen. So let's make it happen. Now, the beauty of getting on the bike is that if you fall off the bike, you can get back on the bike. And so that means that if you're falling short or whatever, like, hey, you lost your job, but you got all this knowledge that you gained before because the company paid for it. Hey, you know how to bounce back. You know how to pivot, especially in times right now when the whole Doge community is firing a lot of people. I think they up to almost 250,000 people now have been fired so far this year.
Wow.
At the time of this recording. And a lot of people just don't know what to do with themselves because they didn't take that time out. And there are some others, because with the government jobs, I can tell you this, that the government pays for their education. They pay for the PhDs. They pay for those master's programs, those extracurricular activities that they pay for. Now they entering to the workforce, and the government already doesn't pay them what they're supposed to be paid anyway. So now these companies are looking to poach a lot of the government workers because they don't know their value. So it goes back to the knowledge piece. What are you doing the research for your industry? Are you actually taking yourself to that next level? Now, granted, you can talk about yourself, but now let's talk about your kids. How are your kids watching you and operating and move when things aren't going your way? Are you frustrated? Are you slamming the doors? Are you like destroying the things that you work so hard for? Or are you actually taking time like, hey, I know what's going on. How am I going to pivot for my family? And am I actually setting up new boundaries with the rest of my family? Like, hey, I'm not going on this trip anymore. Hey, I'm not going to, we're just going to redirect things. We're going to go to parks more, which are free. We're going to go do more walks. We're going to go get in touch with nature. We're going to start growing our own fruits and vegetables so that we don't have to go to the grocery store a lot. Are we going to start getting some chickens so we can have our own eggs instead of paying $10 for a carton of 12?
I want chickens.
Right. So these are the things that this is the reason why I came up with this method, is because this is what helped me and I continue to use for the way how I'm pivoting in my life and my situation that I'm going through. So, and I just challenge you to even try it out, even just from writing it down. It really goes a long way.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful method. And I love the way it starts with B for budget and ends in execution, because the execution part is so important, because you could learn or take all that knowledge that you learned and not apply it. And I think just that ending point where it ends in execution is just super important.
Thank you.
Yes. And thanks for sharing that.
I also, yes, and I also love that you bike to work. So
Try to-
and it just kind of goes hand in hand.
Right.
Look at that full circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore though. Like
Oh, okay.
I bike for fun now. Like,
Yeah.
I like being comfortable. So
Nice.
No more hills.
no
Right.
more hills.
No more hills.
So before we close out, we'd like to ask one final question: is that what is one piece of financial wisdom you would like to leave with our audience?
One piece financial wisdom. It's not. I guess you could say the only reason why I'm hemming and hawing because there's so many different things. But the thing about it's not financial. It's mostly about believing in yourself and investing in yourself. And when it comes to, you can say like, hey, I want to put all the money into the stock market and I feel like I'm doing the best here and there. And oh yeah, this stock is going up, it's going down. But what are you doing for yourself? Like investing in yourself. And that's one of the things that I would say. You can never go wrong investing in yourself, whether it's to take $2,000 instead of going on that trip. Go take a boot camp to learn a new skill for a certification in your industry. Go ahead on and pay for one of those courses that you've been looking at on Instagram, because I'm sure you scroll past a couple of them and you're like, man, that would be really nice if I can do that. Put it in your budget item. Take that $2,000 and invest in yourself. That's the best thing that I can say as far as investment. Gain the knowledge and execute.
That's perfect.
That's perfect. So before we close out, can you tell us where our audience can find you?
Yep. So you can find me on all the social platforms at About That Wallet, and you can even check out my website, aboutthatwallet.com. You can always join the newsletter. I put out once a month newsletter, so I'm not going to bombard you with a lot of stuff. And it's a lengthy newsletter. So I'm talking about AI things, talking about taxes, talking about different saving strategies, some cool interview episodes that I've came across, some books and stuff like that that has come across from different guests, and also what I'm doing. So you get a sneak peek into that as well.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for agreeing to be on our podcast. And thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, we'll talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.